And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Bookish Moment. I am Sarah Burr.
And I am JC Kenny, and it's a very special day, Sarah. So I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, please. And it is super special because this is, I think, is a bookish moment first, where we are joined by the wonderful Debra Sennefelder, who is
Woo!
joining us on the launch day of
Yes.
How the Murder Crumbles. It's Deborah, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to speak with you. We're so excited to chat about the new book, which is also the launch pad for a new series. So, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be spending release day with
Release
a Bookish
day.
Moment. I mean, I'm so
Woo!
excited. This is actually first for me too, so yay.
Well, we're going to have so much fun. I can't wait to learn more about Mallory and the world that she is stepping into as the owner of the cookie shop. Could you kind of set the scene for our audience members? Maybe introduce yourself just a little bit, let them know, what other series you write, and then let's dive into How the Murder Crumbles.
Okay, great. I am the author of 3 mystery series. I write the food blogger mystery series, which the last book to date has been The Corpse in the Gazebo. Then I also write the resale boutique mystery series, and the last book came out in December, Sleuthing Stilettos. And we are here today for How the Murder Crumbles, the first book in the cookie shop mystery series. I live and write in Connecticut, and I think about recipes and murder way too much during the day, and somehow it makes it onto a page. And I am just I'm very fortunate. I get to do what I love doing, which is combining writing and recipes, cooking, baking. And I'm just very fortunate.
Well, we're very fortunate that we get to read these stories
Yeah.
because they are so fun. Just like when you think of cozy mystery, I think of you. And it's so exciting to be able to immerse read as a cozy mystery lover myself, being able to immerse myself in a new world. Can you tell us a little bit about the town of Wingate, where How the Murder Crumbles is set? And let's talk about your new sleuth.
Okay. Wingate is located in central Connecticut, and it has been named one of the top 10 shopping destinations in the state. And it is a fictional town, but and that's the best part about it. I get to cherry pick what I want to put into that town. And for this series, I really wanted to focus on the main street, all the shops and the small businesses, and putting Mallory right smack dab in the middle of that was something that really attracted me to the story and to this series idea, because I wanted her immersed in the small business community of the town. And also that having that designation as being one of the top 10 shopping places in the state allows me to bring in future books tourists. And, sometimes they may not make it back home from their trip. So, and that's going to be so much fun. I have so many ideas for that. So, so creating the town was one of the first things that I did after made the decision that I wanted her to be a cookie baker. I got on the internet and I started researching, looking at various main streets and small businesses, and I just put together that whole stretch of road, and I had a really good time doing that, and then from there came all the secondary characters that just grew from that initial brainstorming of the series. Mac, the mail carrier, came into play. The bookshop came into play, and the knitting shop came into play. So it was a wonderful time. I think for this series, I had the most fun creating the town, as opposed to the other 2 series that I write. So, and Mallory, she's fun. She reminds me a little bit of Hope from the Food Blogger Mystery series, and a little bit of Kelly from the Resale Boutique series. She has a personality that she's not a hot mess like Kelly was at the beginning, which she was totally fun as a hot mess, but she's a little bit more mature. And she inherited this. Well, she didn't inherit. She bought the bakery from her aunt, and she decided to change the direction of the bakery from just selling cookies like it has done for over 30 years, but to add in the cookie bouquets. But she is truly a cookie artist. So she added that angle to the cookie bakery. And that was a lot of fun doing the research for that too. And I found very quickly that my initial thought was correct. I do not have the patience to decorate cookies. I have tried. Even my gingerbread, I don't do gingerbread man at Christmas anymore because I don't have the patience to do the piping on. I don't. And my sugar cookies just get a bunch of sugars on them for decorations. Whereas Mallory would, definitely make it a beautiful snowflake. I just don't have the patience. Mallory has patience. That's what she has. She has patience that I don't have.
I love that. I can usually get through maybe like 1 or 2 cookies at Christmas time. And then I'm just like taking all of the sugar that I've dumped on the plate and putting it on the rest of them. It's like my vision doesn't get too far.
Yeah. And Deborah, I have to say that I am a total cookie monster. And I love pretty much anything and everything about cookies. So what I would like to know is why did you choose cookies for Mallory's gig? Were you trying to come up with ideas, or was it always something that you had in mind? I wanted to have a character whose main thing is cookies as opposed to, say, cupcakes or something like that.
Well, I knew I wanted the series to be culinary themed. So I started working through various ideas. She could have a restaurant, she could have a bakery, she could have a food truck, and I landed on a bakery. But I really wanted to narrow it down more. And I love cookies. And this was also a process I was going through with my agent too. So we're going back and forth with ideas for this. So we narrowed down on cookies. I love cookies. I love to bake at Christmas time. It is like my Super Bowl. I love to bake them. I just don't decorate them. And I decided, let's just do a cookie bakery, and then we also narrowed it down a little bit more. In addition to the cookie bouquets that she sells, she also does cookie decorating classes. So that's another part of her business. So it really just helped to narrow it down. So I did get what I wanted at the end, culinary theme. We're focused on cookies, which I love. And so it worked out.
Well, that is so cool.
Yeah. And I just like the enthusiasm that when you were talking about like how much fun you had creating the town, I think just speaks to how writing can be such a joyful experience and why we begin to explore other series rather than, just kind of setting ourselves down one path and being able to like branch off and do all these really cool things. So seeing that passion is really exciting. And our viewers are very much wishing you a happy release day. We have Mizan saying happy release. Farmhouse Reader Mark is saying happy release day, DHB. We actually have a question from our viewer Farmhouse Reader. Do each of you have a favorite cookie? Ooh.
I would say oatmeal raisin is my favorite cookie.
Wow. I would not have picked oatmeal raisin. I'm a chocolate chip cookie person all the way.
I want to be inclusive. I don't want to insult any cookie ever. So I am going to just say, bring them all. I'll eat them. I'll eat them.
And Deborah, I don't know how many times I've picked up so if I pick up an oatmeal raisin cookie and eat it knowing that it's an oatmeal raisin cookie, I'm like, oh man, these are really good. Like, no wonder why people love them. My problem is when I pick up an oatmeal raisin cookie, I usually think that I'm about ready to bite into a chocolate chip cookie. And that like moment of, oh my gosh, what's happening? I think that's where I get my I've been burned before.
Yeah, well, not to get too off topic, Sarah, but oatmeal raisins. You've got oatmeal, which is good for us.
It is.
Raisins, which is fruit. So it's like it's a healthy meal. There's no downside.
Definitely, it's a good breakfast. Cookies for breakfast. I can definitely get behind oatmeal raisin as cookies for breakfast.
Definitely.
So we have covered cookies, although I would definitely like to go back and talk more about them. But I do want to touch base on the other part of how the murder crumbles, which is the murder itself and the mystery. I'm curious, Deborah, when you were first brainstorming, so you're set in a new town, new character, how was it coming up with the first mystery that Mallory encounters? And how did you can you kind of set the scene for what readers can expect when it comes to this particular murder?
It was so long ago, and it's kind of like a blur at that initial
Mhm.
process of brainstorming everything, the series idea, the town, all the characters, and that first murder. I needed to have the murder. I felt that it needed to be very personal for Mallory, and in creating Queen Bee, who is it's no secret, she's the murder victim. That actually felt right to me because Queen Bee has a connection to Mallory's late aunt. And she also has the ability to really cause Mallory a problem in town. Mallory didn't grow up in Wingate. Instead, she spent her summers in the town. Her parents and her sister would come and spend the whole summer. They would rent a house. And so she knows the town, but she's not a lifelong resident of it. So she's getting, a lot of things have changed in her life when she took over the bakery. So she was just getting her footing. And Queen Bee has the ability to make it very difficult for Mallory to succeed in town. So when I realized that, she was the one who had to die. And I also realized that Mallory had to be one of the people who would be suspected of a murder. And what was the second part of the question?
I think you pretty much
Yeah.
covered everything. I think
Yeah.
the your point about having that personal connection and really investing into, your sleuth, especially when it's first in series, your sleuth
Mhm.
needs to have a reason to kind of stick their neck out to
Mhm.
investigate this crime. And I think that the way that it's presented in How the Murder Crumbles, Mallory definitely has she has the motivation to want to find the real killer. So the talking about the folks around Mallory. So we've discussed a little bit about the murder victim, as well as the influence that Aunt Glenna has on Mallory. But can you tell us a little bit about the supporting characters that surround her, particularly her two companions at the bakery who don't always see eye to eye?
No, they were so much fun to write. Kip and Claudia. They as Once I got a hold of Mallory's character and when I knew who she was and her personality, I knew what Kip's was. It was instant. And then Claudia just fit right in because I knew that she would be the problem one in the relationship. And she would be a lot of fun to write and have the interactions between her and Kip, and then Mallory just trying to keep peace because she's so hopeful that they will at some point become friendly, if not friends. And and I'm hoping. I don't know how it's gonna play out. I have no idea. But I really liked that dynamic in the kitchen. And then we have Darlene, who is Mallory's cousin. She is Aunt Glenna's daughter. And their relationship is rocky because Darlene doesn't approve of the changes that have been made in the bakery. So she has to come to terms with that. She's still grieving the loss of her mother. And then we have Aspen, who pops into town unexpectedly and becomes Mallory's new friend. So yeah, that was an interesting relationship too. I didn't know when I first put Aspen on the page at the beginning of the book, and when readers will see who she is. And I don't want to give too much away of her character, but when I put her on that page, when Mallory first met her, I had no idea she was going to come to Wingate. Even though I am an outliner, I outline everything. My outlines are very long. They're very detailed. I did not know that Aspen was going to come into town and stay.
Oh wow.
And she stays. That's not a big secret. You're going to figure that out, a few chapters in. But yeah, once I met her, and I just knew that she'd be a perfect character to play off Mallory. So we have her, and then we have Mac, and we have a flamboyant, multi-time married romance author who was just a hoot to write. And then of course there's the police detective, Will, and then we have his sister. So it was very it was very interesting creating all these characters because they were all new to me, and I had fun with that. It had been a long time, several years before I created a whole new cast of characters, and it was a joy to do.
It sounds like you've got like just an incredible group of people to play around with and continue to build the town of Wingate. And your point about Aspen, don't you just love it when, especially when you've written as many books as you have, that you can still surprise yourself in the creative process. I think that that's always so fun when it's like, you know what, I wasn't expecting this to happen, but here we are.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I didn't expect I would, have her pop in. And, even though, I do write that long outline, it's not carved in stone. Things can change. It is okay. And it worked. And I'm so happy because she was so much fun to write. I mean, all of them were fun to write. I had a really great time writing it. And I just hope readers have a really good time reading it too.
I'm sure they will.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that is the perfect segue because we're about halfway through our moment here. Folks, those of you who are hanging out with us live, you're in for a treat. Pun totally intended there, because Debra is kind enough to be offering a copy of, woohoo, there it is right there, her new book out today, How the Cookie Crumbles, to a lucky commenter who is going to be selected. Sarah, do you want to share what the magic word this time around is, or Debra, one of the two of you, whoever?
I think Debra should have the honors of letting viewers know. Just make sure that you guys are logged into your Google account, your YouTube account, so that you can use that chat feature to type in the magic word.
And the magic word is cookie.
Cookie.
Woohoo!
Mm.
I know that's probably a shocker to folks watching. It's like, why are we talking about cookies? Why are we writing cookies? While folks are entering into the giveaway, Debra, that cover is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Did you what was the do you get like any say? Do you give like little like ideas? What's the process on the cover end?
They did ask me for cover ideas. And so I pulled out, I got a lot of photographs from the internet for cookie bouquets. So I sent them, and then I sent a lengthy description of the bakery, everything, what it looks like, even stuff that I didn't use in the book. Just this is what it looks like. I even found pictures that represented Mallory's cat, Agatha. I mean, I sent them everything. I said, this is what the bakery looks like. This is what the cookie bouquets looks like. This is what our cat looks like. And, I gave them a few ideas what they could use, especially I thought maybe an interior shot of the bakery with a cookie bouquet, whatever. And then they sent me, it was about a couple months later, a drawing, a sketch of this cover. And it was nothing like I sent them at all. But I was like, okay, all right, let's see what how this goes, right? They know what they're doing. And then a few months later, I got the cover, and it was so bright and colorful. I loved it. So I love it. So, but it was nice that I had some input, but they went in a direction that they thought that was best. And I agree with them. It's gorgeous. I love it.
Well, yeah, that's I think one of the things that really is so much fun about being a cozy author like yourself is even though, yes, we as cozy authors, we're dealing with death and murder and all those bad things. There's so much joy and brightness and fun to the types of stories, and be able to have those reflected on the covers like yours. It's just such a gift. It really is. And yeah, you have some of the greatest covers ever.
Thank you. I've been very fortunate to get great covers. I mean, all of them have been gorgeous. And this one, what really struck me out was how bright it was, and just so happy. I mean, it's about cookies. How could it not be happy? Besides the murder, but
Yeah.
JC, the point that you just made, I'm curious, Debra, and this is kind of stepping back from How the Murder Crumbles and looking more at your career as a cozy mystery author. How did you decide that cozies were where you had found your calling?
I discovered cozy mysteries about 30 years ago, maybe. When we moved to this town, there was a local bookshop, and I was browsing the shelves, and I found books by Diane Mott Davison, Catherine Hall Page, Jill Churchill, Claudia Bishop, and I started buying them, and I just fell in love with the settings. They were cozies, and I actually I was able to relate to a lot of these characters because they were set in a small town, which I just moved into. There was food involved, which I loved doing. I love cooking and baking, and I've always loved mysteries, so it just felt like the perfect spot for me. So I devoured them, and back then you were only getting one book a year from an author. So it was just like, when's the next one coming out? Here. So it was a little frustrating, but that's just what I fell in love with. And then I decided I was going to write one, and it's the perfect landing spot for me. I've written romantic suspense, I have written some paranormal romance, but when I really went back to writing after having my food blog, I decided to focus on cozy mysteries, and it was the right decision.
Well, and that's we're the beneficiaries of that decision. That's for sure. All of us in the reading world. One of the things you just mentioned, food blog, and that's what our murder victim, Queen Bee, she's a food blogger. Kind of circling back to what you were talking a little bit about earlier, how you came up with the character of Queen Bee because of the relationship with Mallory. Did you have what was the process of having her be a food blogger? Was that kind of come together all at once, or did you have to say, okay, now I've got this Queen Bee, I've got the murder victim who has a relationship with Mallory, now I need something for her to do? How did that all work?
Well, I decided to have her be a food blogger because she would have the ability to ruin Mallory a little bit more easily without having a social media following. So not only did she have some power in town, and you meet her, readers will know what her status in the town is, but she also had the ability to, take Mallory down online if she chose to. So that was one of the reasons why I chose a food blog, and also too because of the motive for Mallory murdering Queen Bee was the cookie recipe. So that also played into it. How could this recipe play a part, in the murder? And I was kind of left with, Queen Bee being a food blogger.
I love the social media angle. Just have to say that. The power of social media. I think it's such a clever way because there's so many layers to what Mallory's motive could be in the eyes of the law. So to be able to sift through those and for Mallory to overcome each of them, I think is a very, very clever way to go about it. Debra, we have another question from one of our audience members. Mizan is asking, is there one book that you consider your gateway book into reading cozy mysteries? So thinking about those books that you saw at the bookstore when you first moved into town, what would be like one book that you would think brought you into it?
I know it was a Catherine Hall Page's mystery series, the Faith Fairchild mystery series, and I read every one of them. I got the first book, the second book, and I don't remember what the title of the first book was, but it was her series that really I discovered culinary cozy mysteries, and I knew that this was the right book for me to read, and then eventually the right books for me to write. So it was the Catherine Hall Pages series.
I love that like the feeling, because I myself kind of had the very same experience where you started reading cozies and then you realize like how much they were giving you, and you found this is what I can give back to the world. I'm curious, Debra, what are maybe a couple themes or points that you drive home in your in How the Murder Crumbles, or in any of your other books that you've written, what are some themes that you think resonate very highly with readers, that if people are thinking about exploring the cozy mystery genre, that your books offer them?
Well, I think what the underlying theme for all of the books that I write is that you never really know somebody. And it's always that question, how well do you know someone, regardless of how close you are or you think you are. And I think every book explores that question. And I love discovering it, the answer for the main character.
I mean,
That
really,
is,
it
yeah,
puts
that's
everything into perspective too,
mhm.
because when I listen to true crime podcasts, like that's
Mhm.
the question that they say, and it's like, wow, like you're right. And so the fact that you get to do that in such a comforting and warm, welcoming environment, I think, is a joy.
Yeah, it is. And another part that I do love about writing cozy mysteries is that the main character for me, whether it's Mallory, Hope, or Kelly, they are strong women. They are not going to sit on the sidelines and watch some type of injustice be done. They're going to stand up. They're going to risk what they have. They're going to risk their reputation, their business, maybe even some relationships in order to find the truth. Um, and so I think writing those characters and the settings that we get to write as cozy mystery authors sometimes um, isn't really thought of. When you sit down and you read a book, you're entertained. You have you have a fun read, and you solve the puzzle. But if you take a step back and you really look at those characters, those protagonists, you're going to see that is a character who is strong, the character who is going to fight for what is right. And I love writing those characters in the way that we get to do as cozy mystery authors.
Beautifully
Well,
said.
that is just, yeah, that is so cool, and I tip my hat to you for that. Unfortunately, we are running short of time,
Oh,
so folks, just want to make a quick reminder: if you haven't logged into your YouTube account yet, to be entered into the prize offering, the magic word is cookie. So we'll give you a couple more minutes to do that. Deborah, while folks are kind of getting their last second entries in, today is release day, so
mhm.
congratulations again. Do you have any in-person book signings coming up? Where can people find you, in person or online, or both?
You can definitely check out my website, debrasennefelder.com. All my information is there. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Debra Sennefelder. And if you have purchased How the Murder Crumbles, or you getting it from your library, make sure, if you do choose your books from the library, make sure you let them know that you want to read the book or listen to it. Just send me an email at Debra Sennefelder, Debra@debrasennefelder.com, and I'll be happy to send you a bookmark and a sticker with just copy a confirmation of your order.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Nice.
That's a nice
Ooh,
little perk.
Yeah,
yeah.
very cool.
Fabulous. Well, let us go ahead and see who our lucky winner is for a copy of How the Murder Crumbles. Fabulous title, by the way. I love all of your titles.
Mhm.
While I am drawing the winner, can you tell us a little bit, Deborah, how you got that? How the Murder Crumbles? How did that come to be, or how did you know that like that's the one to go with?
Well, I had a feeling that for this series, all of my other books, I have been able to keep my working titles. So that was really a pleasure to be able to do that. With this series, I had a feeling that they would want punny titles. And I do not do puns at all. I am terrible at it. And so I as the process was putting together the whole proposal for the book, and I finally came up with the title, How the Murder Crumbles. I said, this is it. And then during the process, like I was explaining for the covers, they came to me and said, what titles do you have ideas for titles? And they said, give us 5 or 10. I'm like, you're lucky you got one. So I was like, okay, 5 to 10. So that means I can do 5. So I only did 3. I could not come up with it. I was like, no. I said, if you don't like this title, that's fine. Pick one. But they kept it. But
That blows my mind. I could not imagine coming up with 10 book
Yeah,
titles
no way.
for, oof.
No.
Well, you got the, I mean, you knocked it out of the park with the first one. So like
Yeah.
That's it.
really
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
perfect. Well, our lucky winner for
Mhm.
our How the Murder Crumbles giveaway today is Mizan. Congratulations, Mizan. Go ahead and send me a quick email with your mailing address at giveaways at itsbookishtime.com. I will make sure I get that on over to Debra. And
Yep.
Debra,
Okay.
thank you for being here today and
Thanks so
celebrating
much.
this fun, fabulous release. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to read more in the series because, I mean, cookies, come on, who doesn't want to read more? But congratulations. Thank you for being here. And, just thank you for spending time with us and as well for sharing your insight onto how this series came to be. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
And for our viewers who joined us live, thank you as always for spending a bookish moment with us. We will be back later this week with another episode of the Bookish Hour. We're talking with paranormal cozy mystery author Trixie Silvertail. It's going to be a fun time. She also has a book release this week, so it's just happy books all around,
Yes.
which is always exciting for us as readers, especially when we get to pick the minds of the wonderful authors that we have writing our favorite books. So again, thank you everyone for being here today. And until we see you again, stay bookish. Have a good one,
See y'all.
everyone. Thank you.